and welcome to the live lounge here at Open Banking Expo Canada 2026. I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Crowley, who is Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Personetics. Dan, welcome to the live lounge.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, look, we're still early in the day here. We're just kind of getting underway. There's been a few sessions already, though, so I'm interested to hear from you, Dan, on what you've heard already from some of the sessions, some of the speakers. Are there any key messages coming across so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing that stands out for me is just the energy around open banking and the momentum that it's picking up, specifically in Canada, which has been great. And I think a lot of people have been talking about how much time they've been spending on the defensive side of their open banking strategies and making sure that they're getting data out and being, compliant with the regulations that are coming out and trying to understand them, but quickly turning to more of an offensive strategy to try to figure out ways to create customer value out of the open banking opportunities that are coming down the pipe. So that's been really interesting.
Well, you're going to be speaking later today, and your session is going to focus on driving consumer centric engagement for measurable business impact. Tell us, why is this the right time to have this conversation?
Yeah, I think it's the perfect time to have this conversation. I think one of the first things that comes to mind is that the customer expectations around their personalization and their digital experiences with their banks continues to increase. I mean, their expectations are being set not based on the bank's digital expectations or experiences, but also by their last best experience. So things like Amazon or Spotify or Netflix are really shaping what they expect from their banks. And the banks have been struggling to deliver on those expectations. And so it's really important that the banks catch up because the evidence is overwhelming that if customers can find a more personalized experience at another bank, they're willing to switch.
hmm Okay, so we're already seeing a number of leaders in the room here today. We've got some really key figures from across the North American ecosystem, not just Canada, of course. You yourself have come from the US. So, what's the one message you think those leaders should be taking back to their teams about responding to customers who are increasingly informed by AI tools?
Yeah, I think one is if you don't have an offensive strategy around how to lean into open banking and create value for the customers, is to really get going on creating one. I think there's a real advantage to being a first mover in this space and being the first or second bank to really shape the experience of the customers, I think is really critical.
hmm And what's one action then you think organizations should start taking now? If they were to go back to their organization, after today, what's that action?
Yeah, I think making sure to start with the data and making sure that the data is in a good place, both from a quality perspective and from a management perspective, and that they've got explainable, high quality models that they can start to roll out quickly to customers is really important.
I guess that data in is just as important as the data out.
Right. Just like any transformation that we've seen across technology in the last decade or 2 decades, data is critically important to that. And the quality of that data is critically important to that. So bad data in always gets you a bad result out.
Well, look, with customers becoming sort of increasingly more informed by AI tools, certainly, what's the one practical step you think CIOs should be taking right now to turn AI from something that's potentially a risk into a competitive advantage?
Yeah, I think it gets back to the data quality and the explainability of the models that we talked about before. And I think AI is presenting a huge opportunity, but also a big challenge. I mean, customers are more and more self-advising with AI, which is a really interesting dynamic that's happening in financial services right now. And so that really creates two problems, one for the bank and one for the customers. The customers are starting to spread out their financial lives across more and more providers that are offering more of these AI tools, not just the Gen AI tools. And so it's more and more difficult for them to manage their financial life when it's spread across all these different providers. And for the banks, it's really creating a challenge because they're losing primacy and losing balances. And it's also making it more difficult for them to provide advice when they can't see the full picture of the customers. And so I think that's a really interesting dynamic that, banks need to be on the offensive about and making sure that they are delivering AI-driven personalized advice so that they don't have to go somewhere else to get it.
hmm And, we're at an event focused, of course, on open banking. So, where do you see the most significant opportunity emerging as AI tools kind of put more insight directly into the hands of consumers?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time. I think we're at this convergence of AI maturity as well as open banking really coming online and becoming mature. And I think when you put those two things together, there's a tremendous opportunity for the banks and for us to start to really democratize financial wellness and advice to all the customers. Right now, it's sort of, limited to a very small number of customers in the banks that really get that personalized advice. And I think with the convergence of open banking and AI, we can really start to democratize that and scale it across the entire customer base, which is really exciting because everybody deserves, financial advice, personalized financial advice and wellness.
Okay, so kind of quick fire question then. What's the one thing you'd like to see Canada deliver on this year? When it comes to open banking.
I think clarity around the rules and an easy on ramp to create value with, personalized user journeys and really create value for the customers. I think that would really be great.
Mhm. And and ultimately, what are you going to take away from the expo today?
I think I'm going to take away the excitement and the opportunity on creating that value for the customer and putting the customer first with open banking, which has been really exciting, and the momentum that's behind open banking right now in Canada, which has been great.
Well, thank you so much, Dan, for joining me in the Live Lounge. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much.